Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We are your award-winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast, and we return for the joking of the 39th game. That they never said there'd be a 39th game. There is one in Tottenham Hotspur season. We are back to review that friendly against Newcastle United that took place, of course, in Melbourne. Very, very special day for Ange Postecoglou. A homecoming for him. If you are listening for the very first time, you can find us on iTunes. We're on Spotify. We're across all major audio platforms. We're, of course, on X. We're on Instagram. We are on Facebook too. And look, only award-winning can come back and give you a review on a friendly. I'm joined by three great, fabulous, returning, they're regular guests to Last Word on Spurs. One we haven't seen in a while. I'm delighted to have him back on. Hopefully more to come from him this summer. But I am joined by the instructor, conductor, the runner of this crazy train. Lee McQueen is back, Macca. You wanted a refreshing break? Welcome back.
I'm back to Macca now, am I, Rick? Yeah? Yeah, okay, that's good then. That's good. I was told off. I was in the bad books last week because I was having a barney about everything else that we were going on about. Good, mate. Really good to be back, and I'm absolutely loving the fact that I'm back on with you, my man, and Patrick, and of course this man that is sitting below me in the screen. We haven't been on for a while, man, and he is one of the originals. So absolutely loving it.
I have to give him a big build-up now and hold him off now. Also back on the show, been a while. I'll say been a while. It's only been a while. He's only with us on Sunday. It does feel like a long time in the life of Spurs at the moment. 2 days. Listen, my life every hour feels like a long one. We're joined by the wonderful Chatty Pat. He's back. Hopefully a bit of chat from Pat tonight. Pat, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Exactly. Hopefully I can get a word in edgeways on tonight's show because Sunday was a bit mental.
We got sidetracked, Pat. I didn't want that debate. You know what the show's like. We got sidetracked, right?
Good. Happy to be obviously it's good. Jamie back on again, and shout out to everyone tuning in, everyone listening in tomorrow, whenever you tune in, everyone from down under. Hope you enjoyed the game today. It was crazy though to see all the Spurs fans, the trumpet blowing, and all the Spurs fans just it does remind you how big football is and how massive the Spurs are. Newcastle, the Premier League brand. I did think it was a bit much, literally 3 days after the season, but we are where we are. All good.
Oh man, yeah, listen, I agree. Look, he had the big build up. We'd like to have him back on the show, and the window's coming soon. You know what that means. Jason McGovern, close your eyes, cover your ears. Jamie Brown's back for the Daily Hotspur. Jay, how are you, man? Love to be back.
It's obviously coming into transfer season, so that's obviously where I usually go. Come out until afterwards, but obviously season's done now. I'm very happy about that. Obviously, it's been a bit of a turbulent season at Spurs. Obviously, it's obviously had some good moments, but I think there's been a lot of difficult moments. But look, that's that first season under a new manager, and there's always going to be these difficult moments. And look, hopefully we keep going up from here because I think that's the direction we're going in under Ange. Obviously, I'm sure we all think he's the right man, and I'm obviously looking forward to seeing more of him. And next season, obviously, he's going to have a transfer window now to kind of build his team a bit more. And really looking forward to seeing us next season now.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's no surprise, and people know it out there. I'm not going to kid you. I've had my wobble so far this season, more than what I would used to. But I think, look, one thing I will say is that you can't go away from it. The way that man was adored by those amount of fans in Melbourne earlier on today has been, I say, incredible for him. And just a reminder for those out there, just how big Tottenham Hotspur are. You know, people laugh and joke from different clubs, rivalries, about Spurs' size. I mean, look, unbelievable crowd there. Over, I believe, the 70,000 mark to watch them in Melbourne, which, again, just speaks volumes of the
78,400, yeah.
Thank you, Macca. Which, again, illustrates just how big the football club are. And just a word for those Australian viewers and listeners that tune into this show and remind me a lot about Ange, that it's a process. And a shout out to you guys, because, look, again, maybe people don't realise the crazy times that you guys are having to wake up to watch the side and give that dedication overseas. And I think I shouldn't be falling on people, just that dedication that's given out there to overseas viewers and listeners that, wake up all crazy times of the globe to watch our beloved Tottenham Hotspur through difficult times. But look, hopefully under Ange, we are approaching a really good time. And quite interesting, I thought, on the back of that game, 2 words kind of sprung out to mind was future's bright, because a lot of youngsters played there, especially in the second half, that I think we can really get behind. And that, although Newcastle spoiled Ange Postecoglou's homecoming as they came from behind to win on penalties following that 1-1 draw, I think there'll be a lot of takeaways for Ange about some of the youth players that could really have a decent effect on Spurs in the future. It wouldn't be Spurs if at the end there we had the chaos of a penalty shootout that even Ange admitted after he didn't even know that was coming, which was quite interesting. But it was announced over the tannoy to the thousands that were in jubilation the fact that we're going to get a penalty shootout. at 1-1. But I think, look, on the whole, we'll come over to you, Macca, to begin with. Look, it was encouraging, I think, to see Spurs be able to retain complete dominance over a Newcastle side. We're more or less a really youthful team on the pitch. I think we've said this throughout the last, 10, 11 weeks with Tottenham, that they don't seem to have that cutting edge in front of goal, and we need to convert more chances in these type of games. But it's a real job on for Ange, and one that we've heard after game and pre-game. He's right up for. He knows the challenge. Can you take anything away, Lee, from a friendly?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was a good performance when you look at some of the statistics. 18 attempts we had in total, 3 on target. Newcastle only had 4 shots in total, as an example. I'm sorry, but you got them in there. Look, 4 shots in total. Newcastle, we had 18. Look, shots inside the box there. You can see for the listeners and audio, we've got 10 shots inside the box. Newcastle's 1. 681 passes to Newcastle's 369. 63 recoveries, touches in the penalty areas. I love this new stat, Rick. Touches in the penalty area, just to show. I mean, 14 for Newcastle. We had 53, which is amazing. 63% possession. We only needed to clear it out 4 times. We had 12. And I think one of the key things for me in that is you said about 2 words to describe it. For me, it was 3 words. It was have a shot. That is the most frustrating thing about Spurs under Ange Postecoglou. Certainly the back end of this season and probably throughout, it's have a shot. I mean, we're getting into some areas and you're thinking, just have a go. And they just wouldn't. They'd go back again and go back again. And I'm not quite sure whether that's part of a tactical mentality of wearing the opposition down. It sometimes wears the bloody fans down. But equally as well, I think you've got an opportunity. It might have been Patty. I think it might have been you that said it was only 10% of shots actually scored outside the box across all the Premier League, which I thought was an amazing stat. You'd think it was going to be more than that. But even so, you might get a spill. So, the keeper might spill it like Austin spilled Isaac's today, the one for Isaac today. So you don't know if you don't have a shot. And that I think that's been the frustration piece. But, I mean, you can't argue we're a completely different way of playing. And actually, everybody that came in through the youth as well, I thought some of the exuberance, wow. I mean, Tyrese is looking like a player, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? But a lot of us already know about Donnelly, and to see Santiago get a run out as well. You're looking at some of that. It was good to see. It was really good to see. And, I have to big up the academy and big shout out to Wayne Burnett and all the lads. Obviously, John White Rose and a few of the other regulars on Last Word On Spurs go down and see the academy all the time. But Wayne's done an amazing job down there, and obviously they got a massive game against Sunderland on Sunday. So look, if you're free, get yourself down to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's a 3:00 kickoff, and go and cheer the boys on, because we could go and win, kind of for the second time around, the Premier League, the Premier League 2, which would be huge. So sorry to distract, but ultimately, to get them boys, because it was a bit weird. Like a few of my boys, like Nick and Stefan, said, "Crazy that we're going to Australia. What are we doing that for?" And actually, it's kind of like, to balance out what you were saying earlier. Well, hang on, what about all the fans that get up? What about all the fans that follow us around the world? We are a global club. And I just love, come back to Ange quickly, I just love the way he talks about us. He talks about the club. Yeah. We're a powerhouse club. We're a global club. We weren't getting this under Conte or Mourinho. We were getting belittled by them other managers. But this guy, he's come, he's got us, he knows it, and he's had some tough, turbulent times. But come on, man, this guy does love us as well. If we stick with this bloke, he will take us. I think he would take us higher than what that other bloke took us, which we all still love and adore, even though some of us think he's a snake. But at the end of the day, poor Pat. But at the end of the day, I think it wasn't meaningless. Definitely not. I think there was a wider reason why we went, for sure. But of course, the run out was quite. I thought Maddison getting on the score sheet was good as well. Like, good for his England side.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, Macca. Look, it's a commercial venture. I think you can, put it up any other way. But again, I will return what I said at the start. Great for a lot of those Australian people that get up all hours of the globe to watch this football club. Good for them, because it was an incredible turnout. And yeah, just to see, I agree with you. The words Andrew using, you can't get away from the fact that he does respect the football club. And I think that's what we've all wanted, to see a manager respect the club in such a way. I mean, Pat, bringing you in, look, I think it was great to see the academy boys get some minutes. The likes of Alfie Devine George Abbott, Ashley Phillips, Jamie Donnelly, Brandon Austin, Diego Santiago, Dane Scarlett, Tyrese Hall, Rio Keaterman, Leo Black, all featuring. And, I think it was a really worthwhile experience for those youngsters, but I think many will feel maybe that was the only positive from a post-season friendly. I know many out there, controversial, a lot of the UK broadcasters are saying this can't happen again. Pat, your takeaways from the game itself, what did you make of it for you?
On one hand, I understand that, like I said earlier, even before you asked this question, when we did the intros, we did the quick whip around the room, and I said, I understand from a global standpoint, we are such a big club, even though we get mocked and bantered here, there and everywhere. Tottenham are a huge attraction, a huge draw. Obviously, with the likes of Sonny, Ange Postecoglou, and all the foreign contingent, we have big fan bases clustered or scattered around the world. And going to Australia, you saw the passion and what it meant to the fans to see some of their heroes live in the flesh. So from that point, I do get it. And we are spoiled. Like I live 15 minutes from the ground. I can walk to the stadium literally and be there 20 minutes. I can be sitting down watching Sky Sports or TNT build up, get out of my house, walk to the stadium, and I'm there in my seat within 20 minutes of me watching the build up on TV. And people don't get to do that. They're not Londoners. They're not like from the southeast of the UK and all of that stuff. So for them, it's huge. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. So I do understand that. But then I also look at it and think that's crazy. Like the game, the Premier League just finished on Sunday. It was a taxing, really long season. And these guys are bundled on a plane and whisked halfway around the world. And it is a bit mental. And I know they travel in the utmost luxury and, they're mollycoddled and looked after, but I do think it's insane as well. So I do see it from both sides. It is what it is with any global corporation. And when there's this much money involved, not millions, billions, these things will happen. And we probably will get to a point where Premier League games, actual games are played in Spain, Germany, USA. It's going to get to that point where, football talks, money talks, and the Premier League is the biggest brand. The same way they do NBA games in London and Germany and Spain and all. It's going to happen, unfortunately. I say unfortunately. For us, I think it's crazy. But for the fans that don't get to see it, they're going to love it. So it goes hand in, I see it from both sides. I really do. I thought the game today, obviously you could see the tempo and the intensity wasn't really there. It's a postseason friendly. A lot of guys have got big international games in the summer. They don't want to get themselves injured. With all due respect to meaningless friendly, it's just a showcase. But it was good to see Maddison get on the score sheet. He's got brilliant feet, and when he does put it together, he is a magical player. I know it is a preseason game or postseason, but it's still good to see him score. And like you said, Ricky, I love the fact that a lot of the youngsters got blooded in. And the great thing is when you've got a manager who hopefully will be a long time, the stability, the structure, all these guys that come in, they know exactly how we play. They know exactly what they need to do. And I think that would transcend from the academy through to the first team. And if these guys do make it into the first team, they already know what's required of them. And for me, it's really exciting to see Ashley Phillips, hearing so much about him. The guy's a beast, very good and composed on the ball. And I thought Tyrese Hall looked sensational as well. So there's some good talented players, and there's so many more I can name, but those two really stood out for me today amongst all of the talented starlets. And it's good to see. Obviously, a bit annoying that we lost on penalties. Surprise, surprise, Spurs and penalties never go hand in hand. But, all in all, I thought it was a positive event. The cynic in me says, with all the money being, we must have got paid a lot. I just want to see it put back into the club and invested in the club. If that happens, then cool. I have no problem with these things. It is what it is. And if we play the game and we want to be a big club, these things do come with being a big club. But as long as that money that we make and all of the endorsements and everything goes back into the club, then I've got no issues. If we see ourselves having a stringent and, we're being stringent in the summer, not spending and quibbling over a couple million here or there, then I'm going to go crazy. But right now, cool. It is what it is.
Amen. Listen, Jay, to bring you in, it's quite interesting. I think what you can't argue is the fact that, Ange put all the big stars out there for the audience, right? I mean, I think there was maybe a concern by the fact, again, we're talking about it being that 39th game, and as Pat has said about it being more of an exhibition and a showcase, that there might have been a temptation to actually start with the youngsters. But to be fair to Ange, pretty much a full strength side. I mean, I think the thing I would say coming away from that is maybe, why have we not seen more of the youngsters, Jay? Because I think that would be a thing where many would say, there's been some really talented players that haven't really maybe got the opportunity that they maybe should have done? Where do you stand on that and the overall game for you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, firstly, in terms of, I know a lot of fans on Twitter, and obviously you see it all the time, very disappointed that maybe, on the weekend we could have seen against Sheffield United, we're a couple of goals up. Obviously, they didn't go down to 10 men, did they? But, they were a team that was struggling, a team that were relegated. It seemed like a good opportunity to give, like, a Mickey Moore more minutes, or, like other players, these younger players, more minutes. But look, I think his first pre-season, he didn't really get that chance to kind of judge the younger players. I think the focus was on judging the whole squad. And see, that's what the first season's been about. So you hope now that he's kind of really had that assessment, that chance to really assess his squad now and really assess the first teamers. He can now kind of start looking at some of the younger players, because I was talking to some of my friends on other WhatsApp groups yesterday as well. Like, there is an insane amount of young players at Spurs now that just look like elite. Obviously, we're going to have Bergvall coming into the squad next year. Obviously, an 18-year-old, he looks like a ridiculous talent. For me, I think he's going to go straight into the first team. I think he's someone that could potentially start pushing for a starting spot. He looks that good. Obviously, Mickey Moore looks like one of the best players in Europe in his age group. Obviously, so ridiculously young at 16. Tyrese Hall, another one who's impressing. Jamie Donnelly. So, and we obviously saw Ashley Phillips as well, obviously someone that did really well on loan this season. So, there's so much exciting youth coming through at the moment at Spurs. And, you hope it kind of they do get that opportunity. Obviously, it's been somewhat disappointing that they haven't got maybe slightly more minutes this season. But look, as I said, I think this first season was kind of for Ange assessing the first teamers. And, hopefully we'll kind of see a real refresh in the summer. But this summer, hopefully we'll get a good chance to look at these younger players. And obviously good to see quite a few of them today. Obviously, I think a lot of them did impress. Overall, in terms of the performance, I was pretty pleased, actually. Obviously, we finished well against Sheffield United as well. That was another good performance. Yeah. The Man City game, obviously it was a really difficult watch, that one, because obviously I think we can all admit we were kind of supporting Manchester City in that one for obvious reasons, but.
This is where these shows go out the window. We get these debates back. Yeah,
it's tricky. Look, obviously, I can say that because I'm sure. I hope that 90% of the people watching were doing the same. But anyway, it was a great performance, and that was the one time when you wanted us not to show up, and we did. So good performance against Man City, good performance against Sheffield United, and obviously two strong teams today. And I thought showed the stats there. It was it was kind of like a real Ange ball. So but. That's when the pressure's been off, so that hopefully now that they need a bit more confidence and kind of need to start doing it when there is a bit of pressure on. So hopefully we can see a bit more of that next season and see it in the bigger moments. But great to see the younger players getting a chance today, and hopefully we'll see more of them next season.
When you mentioned Man City, Jamie, I thought I could see McQueen or Patrick Flinch there. They come in, but they've remained on mute, which is a sign that we're not going back there. We're not going back there. Just on Ange Postecoglou's comments after the game, he said, look, I thought it was okay in terms of the game itself. First half was really good. It was a decent game. I thought we played really well, actually. It was important, as I said to the lads before the game. It's 80,000 people here. It wasn't long ago I was on the other side of the fence. I used to get hugely disappointed if I felt I came overseas and I went through the motions, but I felt it was a decent game as a whole. We worked really hard, pressed really good, which has been our symptom all year, really. Our football, I thought at times, was exceptional. We had passages where we created some good opportunities. I just felt the lads were really, really disciplined and tried the best of our ability to play our kind of football rather than just play a game with no real purpose. A lot of the stuff I saw in the first half was the stuff we've been working on all year round, which really, really was important to me. The game being so close was not ideal, but we made that commitment to come out here. And once you make that commitment, you've got to follow through with it and treat it in the right manner. This is the bit I know Lee loves, representing one of the biggest football clubs in the world, and you have to make a positive impression, and our fan base grows even further, which is really, really important. But as a whole, the players handled it really well. They've got a break now. They'll get that for themselves. And in relation to what comes next, he said, look, from his perspective, he's staying on Ange for a couple of days. The boys are straight back on the plane. I thought, like I say, it was a tremendous effort from them. And again, they're going to go back from their perspective. But the reality is that after I've had these couple of days here, I'll spend some time off with my family at the weekend. We'll go to Greece, switch off for a couple of weeks. It never stops what we do. There's plenty of people working, doing the bulk of it. I've just got to hope and provide that we're going to be in the right direction, which again, lovely words there from Ange Postecoglou, who to be fair was, I thought, in great mood in terms of the pre and the post-match press. As we know, it was obviously, I think, Global Business Week in Australia, if I'm wrong on that. So obviously it's quite a big week over there in regards to what's going on. So to have Ange come for the homecoming has been absolutely huge for them. But yeah, listen, great words there. What we are going to do, we are going to go for our first break of the show. For our listeners that are on audio, a very quick reminder, guys, if you need one, that we are pleased to be bringing you a Last Word on Spurs end of season special. You can join us on Sunday, the 2nd of June, between 5 p.m. to 11 p.m., where it's going to be a different kind of format. We're not going to be doing an end of season podcast for you. We're breaking away from that, having a bit of a game theme element to this event itself. It'll be a couple of hours with some of your favourite Last Word on Spurs panellists. No, Jamie Brown can't join us, which is obviously gutting to know. But look, you can join us. We're going to be there at the Bricklayers, Sunday the 2nd of June, between 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. If you would like to reserve your seat, you can do so by emailing us at lastwordonspurs@outlook.com. That's lastwordonspurs@outlook.com. Or alternatively, you can text and call the following number to reserve your spot, and that is +44 739 8990747. That's +44 739 8990747. As always, guys, we can't thank you enough for all your support during this season and beyond. And look, hopefully there's a lot more to come. Right. It is a friendly guide, so we are going to really fly through some of the elements to it. But again, as we've touched upon, it was a strong starting lineup from Ange Postecoglou, which saw a team that contained just 2 changes from the one that started against Sheffield United. Obviously, from a Spurs perspective, we had Brandon Austin coming in for Guillermo Ricario and Emerson Royale replacing Christian Romero. It's worth noting that Romero and Højbjerg did not make the trip due to personal reasons and injuries, respectively, while Giovanni Lo Celso, also injured in recent weeks, did not make that trip, with a couple of the other players remaining home. England man James Maddison, of course, has been selected for the provisional squad. He started as well. So that team from Spurs did read. Of course, they had Austin Porro, Dragoshin van der Ven, Emerson Sarr, Bentancur, Maddison Johnson, Kulusevski Son, with a bench of Vicario, Whiteman, Phillips, Black, Skip, Devine, Abbott, Kieran Hall, Brian, Scarlett, Santiago, Donnelly. And you know what? Credit to Ali Gold. Ali Gold was the only, I believe, UK journalist out there fighting the fight for Spurs, of course, in Melbourne, where I think Ange family knows who Ali is now. He looks... I mean, listen, Ali's face when I say Ange's face when he saw Ali there, he was like, "What are you doing there? How did you get here so quickly?" We know Ali obviously missed the Sheffield United game to get there. But listen, there was an interesting moment. Obviously, the stadium went completely in dark for one point. Flames at even the end when the players walked out. I think, to be fair, I don't want to put a characterization on it because obviously I wasn't there, but it does appear a lot of that stadium was behind Spurs and behind Ange. But to be fair to Newcastle, they did bring their contingent too. We had a couple of early chances for Spurs. Son's effort striking a defender's hand, but nothing was given. I would think if that was Premier League with VAR, I imagine that probably would be brought back retrospectively for a pen. We had James Maddison firing an early shot wide and Spurs started to dominate the early period. And then Maddison did get on the score sheet. I mean, Macca, look, I think it's fair to say it's been an up and down season for James Maddison. I mean, started off incredibly, then he had the injuries and hasn't really, I think, like a lot of players, really got back to his ultimate best. But I think important for him to score. Lovely finish from him. Look more the James Maddison that we saw of old. Intercepted that pass from Pope. Jink passed a couple of changes before firing home to make it 1-0. And lovely words from James actually afterwards where he believes Spurs can achieve big things under Ange Postecoglou. How important is that, Macca, for him? We know it's a friendly. We know we've got the Euros to come, but a nice way to sign off for the season, right? Friendly or no friendly?
Yeah, certainly for Matters. I mean, he's just been named, isn't he, in the provisional squad or the training squad for England. When you see some of them names in them 4 positions, you're like, wow, I mean, it's smoking. And you're actually worried if he's going to get in them or not, to be fair. So, yeah, for him, I think, he levered it at the end of the day, didn't he? He stuck his boot through it and, he jinked. He done well, got a little bit of space in the box and then just put his foot through it and, took the roof of the net off nearly. And that's what point I was making at the beginning is like, have a shot, right? Because actually, when you do have a shot, guess what? You might end up scoring a goal, which is what he ended up doing. So, yeah, I think it is important for him. And like I said right at the beginning, I think the whole game was important for lots of different reasons as well. Especially with the youth, as we've just talked about, the academy players. So yeah, fair play to him.
Amen. He said after the game, look, in relation to Ange, he's quite popular, isn't he? Ange is a good man. He's a great character. I love working for him and seeing him in his country with the support he gets. It was so nice. The first in any new project is challenging it as it ups, as it's downs, but I'm really enjoying working with him. And I think we can achieve big things together. So the first year of many, I hope. I mean, it's interesting, Pat, he comes out there in real kind of genuine support of Ange, because I think there has been the last 3-4 weeks when we've been concerned and he's been a little bit, maybe not himself. He looked obviously a bit sulky after, obviously, Liverpool away, Chelsea away. I mean, we're all quite sulky after those games. But how important is that, Patty? We hear those words from Madders there on Ange, that he seems still very, very happy under him, because to be fair to Ange, doesn't really give too much away when it comes to players. Does that reassure you going into the summer that Madders is still a massive, massive part of this project? Okay. Not often Pat is silent on the show. Pat, have I got you there?
Yeah, no, I'm back. Sorry, I did lose the last part of your question, so I apologise. If you could just repeat that.
Yeah, absolutely fine. No problem at all. I mean, how important is that, Pat, if you see at the end of the very, very end of the season there, that ultimately it does feel like Madders has got that relationship with Ange? I think there's been some concerns over whether the last couple of weeks of the season, obviously Liverpool away, Chelsea away, there's a little bit of a sulk there on the bench to some degree, coming on, coming off. That relationship still looks very strong, Pat, going into the summer.
Yeah, I think, Maddison's very honest. One of the qualities I love about James Maddison is that he's very self-aware and he's honest in his assessment of himself. And he's been open and said he's not been at his best, come back from injury, and for whatever reason or reasons, he's not hit that same form. That he holds himself to high standards, so he knows he hasn't been at it. And you like to see that. Even like Bentancur, when he came off the other day and he's against Man City and he's bashing the chair and he's going crazy. It's good that these players are annoyed when they get subbed or they don't have the best game to their standards. It shows that they care. It shows that they're passionate. It shows that they believe, they hold themselves to high standards, and they're not happy if they don't hit that. And, Maddison, the thing about Ange is that obviously you're always going to trust in your best players, and you are going to essentially sometimes try and play them back into form. But when it's not working, they do need to be dropped or rotated, however you want to call it. And Maddison needed that. Sometimes you do need to kick up the arse, especially if you see that a player's getting a bit too comfortable and looking a bit too familiar. Maddison's such a good player, man. Obviously, there's a few arguments about how good he is. Sometimes you hear people saying, no, at Leicester, he did drop off at the end of this season, that season. Obviously, being at Spurs, the scrutiny and the spotlight is on you a lot more. So we do need to see Maddison perform throughout the whole of the next season, because he was on like 7 assists for most of the season. He finished on 9, which is okay, but a player of his ilk should be getting 15 assists realistically. He's that good. And I know obviously that maybe we need a forward to finish the chances. Sonny off the left would be better, but he's good enough to be getting 15 assists, in my opinion, in the team that works. But of course, that's the system. Ange playing him in the right position, players playing in the right position. I digress. But Maddison's a good player. I do agree with what Lee's saying. When you look at that England team, we're so talented in the forward areas. It's very touch and go if he makes it. If he was having the season that he should have had, in our opinions, he would definitely make the squad. But right now it's touch and go. But, if he doesn't make it, selfishly, that's probably to our betterment. He can work at home, not tire himself out. No point in going, of course you want to play for your country and you love the fact that you make the squad, but if he's just going to make it and just sit on the bench the whole time, maybe it's better he just stays at home and just obviously works throughout the summer, just make sure he's in tip-top shape for August. But yeah, I don't see why Maddison would be sulking and upset with Ange, in the sense of he understands where he is, he understands what's happened. And I do basically want to go back to how positive at the moment the mood is around amongst the camp. Everyone's talking and saying the right things. And obviously for me, it's just about, it's all well and good talking the talk, but now we need to walk the walk.
Amen. We're going to come on to walking the walk very, very shortly in relation to those post-match comments we are. Jeff, I can bring you in just on James Maddison. Pat makes a point there. Look, 9 assists and 4 goals in total of his 28 Premier League games since he arrived at Spurs last summer. Where are you on James Maddison, Jay? And do you take away much from that performance and the fact that he got a goal and those comments afterwards? Because I think, for me, I quite like the fact we heard from him after the game, the fact that he still is very much behind this project under Ange.
Yeah, look, obviously, James Maddison at his very best is a phenomenal player. But as Patrick pointed out, at Leicester, it was a similar case where, he did drop off and there was points where he was too inconsistent. So, that's something that next season he absolutely has to improve. And look, I just wonder whether this system and the way that Ange sets up the midfield, we do need a number 10. So I think that, honestly, I've already mentioned him previously, but Lucas Bergvall, I really believe that he's going to be a player that will come in and have an impact next season. I think he's a sort of midfielder that Spurs need as well. I think he's a guy who's very well rounded, and I think we'll see him come into the team, and I think he's going to be a big competition for Maddison next season. So I think that would be good for Maddison as well, having that competition. But as I said, with Bergvall, I really believe he is that good. Obviously, Barcelona were desperate to sign him. We managed to kind of show our project, and he's obviously opted to join Spurs instead. So I think that shows you kind of how highly rated he is. And, he has been doing brilliantly in Sweden at just 18. Obviously, completely different level. But I think that, I think he's going to be someone who's going to make that step up. So he's definitely one to keep an eye on next season. But, yeah, with Maddison, I just question whether, his skill set and the way that he is. Obviously, the midfield for me was a big issue. And that's why at times, we did look so open. I just think that midfield just kind of lack control at times. So Maddison either kind of needs to be more consistent next season and obviously play like he did in those first 9 matches, or he's going to face competition, because obviously the potential that Conor Gallagher might come in as well. It looks like we're looking at that kind of midfielder as well. So look, there's no doubt in his quality. I think he's a brilliant player, but he doesn't quite show it enough. And I think there's still kind of some way to go to prove that he does fit into this team, because as I said, maybe it could do with a more rounded midfielder. And as I said, I think Lucas Bergvall is one to definitely keep an eye on.
It's a great point there, Jay. I just wonder again, like you said there, with relation to what comes in the summer and those players around him, whether that genuine competition might just help push him on or spur him on, pardon the pun. He admitted after the game, look, it has been a very tiring last few days. He said, look, it was a long flight out here. We were here in the air for longer than what we actually were meant to be, but jet lag was kicking in the morning in the early hours. I was staring at the ceiling, but the reaction we got on the warm welcome makes the trip worth it. We're very appreciative of the support we got over here, especially with our gaffer being obviously from this part. The warm welcome was fantastic. We're very appreciative of that. He said now in terms of what's next for him, it's time to go back, a nice long flight, maybe a glass of wine, a couple of days off, and then meet with the international team. Hopefully try and recover and get my sleeping pattern back on normal English time, and then go train well, perform well in these friendlies, and try and be on that plane. I think there's no disillusion from his perspective. He's going to have to work very, very hard over the next couple of weeks to see if he will be part, of course, of Gareth Southgate's indicted, obviously, fully England squad once that does get announced. In terms of the game, look, couple of big chances. Johnson as Son got down the left-hand side, firing a low cross. The former Forest man got toe-to-toe, put it straight at the keeper. And then Isaac did equalise for Newcastle before the break. I mean, God, again with Tottenham, not often we've seen Spurs dominate first halves and really have a lot of the game. The Newcastle goal coming over to Maka was really against the run of play. It was Isaac converting a low cross as keeper Austin pushed Murphy's cross straight into the Swedes' path. I mean, to be fair to Austin, look, didn't have a terrible game, didn't have to do much really in the second half, but I suppose as a goalkeeper, you want to put it anywhere but right into the path of a forward, right? But again, I don't know whether he had too much other options back. What did you make of the goal for you?
Well, he did play in the second half, didn't he? He brought the other goalkeeper.
He came on very late. I mean, I think he came on. We had Alfie Whiteman replace him late on. So to be fair, he kept with him. He kept with him for a while.
I'm only messing with that. Look, yeah. I mean, I think look, to be fair, you're taught, aren't you, as a goalkeeper? If you're going to get rid of it, don't push it back out. I mean, he pushed it literally out exactly where we should be pushing it. But like you said, it was very unfortunate. We were totally on top of the game. It was completely against the run of play. I think we said they only had 4 attempts all game. And that was their first shot on target. And they scored.
Yeah, first shot, first meaningful effort.
It just sums up Spurs. Spurs is kind of crazy train roller coaster season, don't it? Do you know what I mean? Like really, in what 1 or 2 moments for that. But I mean, Brennan Johnson, I think I like him. I think he's going to be a star. 5 goals, 10 assists in the Premier League this year. But he should be scoring that. He should be scoring that opportunity. He should be burying that, and it should be 2-0, and we should be done and dusted because it was an excellent move. And that's the thing. I think the way I would sum up Spurs' performance today, but also across the season, is in patches, in moments, we play really well. Like in moments, like literally 2-minute, 4-minute moments. And then other than that, it's just kind of, even left and right and backwards, but it's probing, but it's with not much anything else. I think we had a 93% passing accuracy today, which is mental. Like it is in anywhere in the 90s is ridiculous passing, but when them passes just really short, sideways, but easy passes, right? Do you know what I mean? Like where's the risk taking and that. I think it will come. Don't get me wrong, mate. I'm not having a burn at him, but I think it will come. But that's the frustration of watching Spurs at the moment. And I think that conceding that goal just summed that up, didn't it?
Yeah. I think the only way I can describe it for me is that there's a passive way Spurs have played in the last 20 games. When you look at the opening 10, there was a real, I think, brutal way to the way Spurs used to attack teams in the opening 10 games. And I know we're doing a season review at the weekend, and ultimately, look, I think many will feel the Chelsea goal at home, if that goes in with Sonny, that could arguably be a real sliding doors moment of the season. I mean, what does that do? How does that change the games and the context of the season? Who knows? But look, in terms of this game itself, Newcastle did go in level at half-time. I mean, Isaac barely had a sniff of the game until that moment. But Spurs, they made 4 changes in the second half. Phillips, Abbott, Devine, Skip, on for Porro, Bentancur, Van der Ven and Maddison. Just in relation to some of those players, Phillips made a really important starting block on 64 minutes. Devine was busy in the Maddison role. He set up a chance for Scarlett later in the game. Skippy, even for him, this is quite a feat. Managed to pick up a booking in a friendly, which is quite funny when you think about that. I mean, friendly's the nature of them. To get a booking, I think, is quite funny. Pedro Porro, again with Porro, he's been for most of the season really active down the right flank, hit some decent balls in before coming off at half-time. Mickey Van der Ven, similar to Dragoshin, he has obviously the Euros to look forward to, so naturally he wasn't going to play the full 90. He got pulled off at the interval. But a game, I think, going into the second half where, as we said, huffing and puffing, but not really much going on. Bentancur, he had some good work in a number 6 role. We saw Donnelly and Hill replace Sarr and Son a bit later on. I mean, again, Donnelly will probably be remembered for what was an incredible penalty in the shootout. I mean, what unbelievable composure he showed from the spot there, Jamie Donnelly. And some really nice touches during the game. Brian Hill, busy period for Brian Hill. I mean, many will hope for him that the penalty was his lasting grace in a Spurs shirt. Very similar to one of our own, John Wenham, who reminded me, John, that I think Davinson Sanchez's last moment in a Spurs shirt was also missing a penalty. But we're gonna have John on next week, actually, after the youth final. So John will be great in terms of giving us some insight in terms of what he's made of the youth overall. So John's back with us next week for that. So one to keep an eye on. Pat Matasar, he's played really all season. Plenty of effort, energy in the midfield. Sonny, I think there was big groans in the game when Sonny went off on the hour mark. I think naturally, look, Sonny's a star wherever he goes around the world. Pat, come over to you. And I think, again, reality is that he wasn't going to play the full 90. I know there was a few boos that was then followed by a few cheers to obviously mark the fact of him withdrawing from the pitch. I mean, Patty, can you understand that? I'm sure, rightly so, the Aussies would love to have seen Sonny out there for a full 90. But if anyone in our squad's had a busy season, I mean, Son, bless him, he's been in the Asia Cup. He probably needs a break more than anyone, right?
Yeah, he needs to be protected. I mean, he's so robust, and like there was a few moments during the earlier part of the season where he was heavily taped up and strapped up, and he didn't look comfortable. But touch wood, the guy's a machine, and he's rarely ever injured like that. And he's been firing, all season. He might not have been at his best all season, but the guy's so reliable. And they always say, like, availability is one of the top abilities. That guy's always available, and he played an hour. That's a lot, considering it was with all due respect, season's done. You need to protect your assets, wrap them in cotton wool. But we did show a lot of respect to the fans and the event and the spectacle by playing, like you said, Ricky, a very strong team. In some of these games, you see managers make so many changes to begin with and not really respect it. We essentially played our strongest 11 with obviously a lot of youth players, talented players coming on. So Son playing 60 minutes was good, but he needs to be rested and protected because he's had a very, very busy season. But yes, I had no complaints with that. I thought that Ange did well in terms of the mix of bringing players on and off and keeping a strong squad, but still integrating players that all of us fans would love to see more of. Everyone got a good run out. Had no issues with it. So yeah, for me, it made sense for him to do that. I mean, like Lee says, I mean, watching the game, it was one-way. I can't believe Newcastle scored. I can't lie to you. When it panned out, you know when they're walking off and the camera pans away, and I'm seeing 1-1. I'm like, how is this 1-1? Like, honestly, it was insane. And that has been the story of our season, where we've been so dominant, not taking our chances, and then somehow the other team comes back in it, and they either end up winning or snatching a point. And you're like, how has it got to this? We had a lot of shots, but again, I didn't really see that intent. Didn't really test their goalkeeper. Their goalkeeper only made one more save than ours, which is insane considering the amount of shots and possession we had. So that is something I hope these guys tweak and, make us a bit more. We have a lot of the ball, but we're having the ball in the areas that I'm not going to hurt the opposition. So that needs to change. But it's a postseason friendly. I'm not going to go crazy over it. All in all, I saw a lot of positive moments. Saw a lot of the youngsters come in, look good, look comfortable. Like I said, the fact that Ange has implemented his style and his system, it means the guys that come in know exactly what they're doing. And that's why even if we go to Man City away and we're playing Emerson Royale and Ben Davis at centre-backs, the team is still going to play the same way. And obviously sometimes we don't like that, but it is good in the sense of everyone knows how to play and what they're doing. And maybe it's just getting the better quality pieces to make that transition or that switch a bit better. But all in all, cool.
Yeah, so we're going to come on to the better quality pieces very, very shortly, because I want to get the guys' thoughts on Ange's comments about the window in general, which he has opened up on. Before I do, Jay, I'll come around to you. Look, in terms of other players' performances, Santiago came on along with Dane Scarlett for Johnson and Kulusevski. Diego brought a lot of pace and trickery to his game when he came on. Dane Scarlett, look, he actually had 3 chances when he came on during the game. Couldn't force one home, but did bag a penalty. Brennan Johnson, as we touched upon, unable to convert a late half chance. Kulusevski started actually through the centre again. It's worth obviously bearing in mind. He came off around the 65-minute mark. And it was a lovely goal for Spurs. Emerson playing Santiago down the right. He hit across into the box, which Scarlett, as I said, did send that header wide. But I think, again, the enjoyment fact is, Jay, we saw, like I say, a lot of these youngsters given an opportunity. Tyree saw one for Dragoshin. A little, again, decent cameo from him. As I touched on with Lee earlier, Brandon Austin replaced by Alfie Whiteman for the final 30 minutes or so. We saw Ria Keiterman and Leo Black come on for Emerson and Abbott in the final minutes. I thought George Abbott, that was quite a tidy performance there from, again, the youngster. He's only recently actually just signed a new contract. Emerson Royale, he actually stayed on until the final minutes and actually got better, I think, as the game wore on. I know that won't please people, but it did end down this penalty shootout. Brian Hill stepping up and his effort being saved. I think the Newcastle bench, they celebrated wildly. I know that was sarcasm from them, but there was real jubilant scenes on the bench there. Newcastle scored theirs. Dane Scarlett fired home. Newcastle netted again. Jamie Donnelly curled home a lovely, obviously, penalty. Newcastle netted again. Tyrese Hall, obviously, on the score sheet as well. Skippy scored from the spot, but Newcastle won the shootout. I mean, the crazy thing is, Jay, we've managed to have 2 penalty shootouts. I can see a whole bunch of pens in the league. I've not managed to save a single one. Can we take
well, I mean, when you watch Forster's kind of his ability to say, or inability, I should say, to save penalties, I don't think it was too much of a surprise. I mean, that was pretty shocking. But yeah, obviously, it is going to be a little bit worrying because I'm sure there's going to be plenty of times next season if we want to win that Europa League, we want to go far in that competition. Yeah, something that we've got to improve. But look, Jamie Donnelly's penalty was one that definitely kind of resonated with me because everything about it, you just go and watch it back. I'm sure you'll find it quite easily on Twitter. I mean, that guy has been very influenced by Harry Kane. I mean, you can kind of see it, week in, week out. Obviously, he's a midfielder at the moment. And, when he drops deep, the way he passes the ball, it just reminds you so much of Kane. And, look, his ball striking ability is really similar to Kane's as well, the way he took that penalty. So, yeah, again, another guy who I think we're very excited to see. Hopefully, we'll see him on the weekend in that cup final. But, obviously, good to see them getting opportunities. And, I think it was quite telling that the 4 youth players, Scarlett, Donnelly, Tyrese Hall, and I can't remember who the other one was that scored his penalty. And who missed his penalty? Brian Hill. So the kids all stepped up and scored. And Hill missed his, I think, is quite telling. And obviously, that maybe shouldn't read too much into it, but I think, hopefully, I'm sorry, Brian, but I hope that's the last time we see you a Spurs shirt. But obviously, I'm sure he'll go to Spain and do very well. I'm sure that, look.
I don't think you've got a feeling on this, Jay. Let you come back on this. The only thing I would say is I saw people on Instagram abusing him after the game. I mean, I don't mean to be rude, but it's friendly. I mean, should the guy be getting abused for friendly?
Getting abused on Instagram now. I thought that was the happy place. Twitter
I
was
mean, that's social media for you, isn't it? And obviously we've got one guy in the comments as well who's trying to give a bit of abuse as well. So I'm sure that some of the guys in the comments are doing a good job in giving him some back. But
moderating him.
Unfortunately, that's social media for you, and you're always going to get people like that. And no, it's not nice to see, because I'm sure Hill's someone that does work hard in training and wants the best for for Tottenham, but for one reason or another, it's not quite worked out for him. This is exactly why I'm here, Colin. I've come out of my cave to come back to transfer season. But anyway, obviously, unfortunately, you do get people like that, and it's not great to see. I'm sure Brian will, he'll go back to Spain and do very well. Obviously, we saw him do very well at Sevilla at loan spell. Won the Europa League. I saw some Arsenal fans saying he's the worst Premier League player ever, but obviously he's got Europa League trophy or European trophy, and they've never seen one. So good luck. But I wish him all the best of luck.
Leave us on a positive, Jay. Leave us on a positive. Look, what we are going to do, we are going to go for our final
win tank, boys and viewers and listeners. You know that as soon as he leaves Spurs,
always the way.
You're going to play on 2 titles.
Always the way.
Even it.
As long as that knock us out, the Europa League, that's all I care about next season. Don't do that to us. Can you imagine?
Ryan Hill worldie, mate, in the quarterfinals.
I mean, it's just only Spurs could give them 25 million, Lamela, and then give them Ryan Hill back, and then they go and win a trophy before us. I mean, that's unfortunately only Spurs.
And when you think about it as well, the way Lamela divided opinion on Spurs fans, I mean, at that time, you remember that time with Lamela? There was still I love Lamela. I always love Lamela.
Still have him if you want Ryan Hill.
I know. Well, look, I still have him. I still have Lamela. I think he's an amazing, just an amazing guy to have around the place. He was great. But listen, what we are going to do, we are going to go for our final break of the show for our listeners and audio. When we come back, we're going to talk about Ange Postecoglou's comments on what is to come for the summer for Tottenham Hotspur. Look, what I will just say is, look how well informed our viewers and listeners are. Colin here says, must be transfer season. Jamie is here, your favourite time, Jason McGovern. Now, that tells you just how well in tune our viewers and listeners are, that they know this is the time that Jason McGovern absolutely despises, and it's the time that Jamie Brown does wake up. Now, after the game, Ange was asked around the fact that, from his perspective, last summer you and the club made a real drive to get players in early for pre-season, which hasn't always been the case. Is that going to be the case again? Ange said, look, this is what I mean. I'm going to get some time off, and it's the next question you guys are going to ask me. Look, I've got to get the players in from my perspective as early as I can. He said, look, I think it works best, Ali. Last year, it certainly benefited us having a couple of players in early to be with the whole squad. Again, looking at the schedule with what we've got to come with international commitments, we're not going to get them all back for the start of pre-season, but if we can get ones done in early, it will be easier said than done. Everyone wants to get their business done early. Everyone is keen to bring players in, but the reality is that it's going to take a little bit of time. The good thing for us is that we know what we need to do. We've had a plan in place for a while, and it's just about now going through that process. And to be fair, Jay, sticking with you, I mean, Ange has been, I'm not going to do with the Ange put to the head there. He has been, Jay, fairly consistent. Definitely the last 4 or 5 weeks, Jay, that there has been a plan in place for a while, and it is just following through with that plan. So it does seem, to not put the knockers on it, that Spurs are all quite well prepared in terms of what they're going to do. Do you get that feeling as well?
Look, I know obviously the way that Spurs fans talk about transfers, and obviously very negative all the time. But look, I thought last summer was really positive. Maybe, some players didn't work out quite how we wanted them to. But look, obviously Brendan Johnson's probably one that maybe you put in that category. But look, the numbers that he's put up at the age of just 22 and just reminding you it's his second season of Premier League football as well. I think that's something worth noting as well. And what's he got? 15? Was it 15 assists or is it 15 goal contributions? Yes, obviously we invested a lot of money in him, but I think to be producing that numbers at that age, and obviously in his second Premier League season, I think that's still pretty good. So I think that look, our last summer our recruitment was very strong. Obviously Mickey van der Ven, another one. Vicario, another one who's coming in done very well. Obviously there are some areas of the game where maybe he does need to improve. Obviously corners and in the box, that's maybe where he does need to improve. But look, I thought last summer was really good, and I'm sure we'll go and see the same again. Look, our recruitment under Ange last summer was really good, as I said. So I do have confidence that it's going to be another strong summer. I think there are areas that are pretty apparent that we do need to go and strengthen in. I'm sure we'll see a sign 2 forwards. I think that's something that will happen. Holding midfielder as well is something that we need. I've spoken about the midfield and that probably being our biggest area of concern. I think that the areas where we do need to strengthen are pretty obvious, and I have confidence that the club are going to do it, just because I was pleased with last summer, and I know a lot of fans might disagree with me, but that's just where. So I was happy with last summer, and I think we'll see something similar.
I mean, to be fair, look, I think we've all got to say in January, contrary to what we thought about Timo Werner after we signed him, and again, that's a debate that, again, it's probably for another show, given the nature of it. No one can say, I think even in January, they were angry or disappointed by what Spurs did. They knew they needed a defender. They went and got a defender. They knew they needed a forward. They went and got a forward. I think for the first time I said under Enoch in January that we've actually come out and actually been in a better place going into the second half of the season. I just think the nature of the way certain games went in January and beyond that, of course, the FA Cup exit did leave us with a bit of a bad taste in our mouth. But I don't think anyone could say that the summer window and the January window hasn't been a genuine improvement from Tottenham. There's no doubt about that, right? I can see Jay, you want to come back in on that?
Drag us in as well. I mean, obviously we haven't seen a lot of him, but
no.
we saw him again against Manchester City. For me, I think that Manchester City game, had the fans been behind the team, I think we would have got something from that. I think that it was just because everything was so negative, and maybe, in another game, Sonny would have put that chance away. I really believe we would have got something. And defensively, we looked really solid. And Dragusin obviously came into the team. Van der Ven slotted in at left back, and Dragusin did a really good performance. So again, another guy who's, we've identified and just kind of handled him pretty well. Obviously, he's had to wait for his chance, but got his chance against Sheffield United. Yes, obviously it is only Sheffield United, but again, we looked really solid. I thought we looked pretty solid again today at times. Obviously, was disappointed that we conceded that goal, but overall, I thought we defended pretty well. And a guy who's just come in, and I think that our recruitment under Ange so far has been very good, and he's dealt with the signings very well. So, look, again, I know the way that, I've been on Last Word On Spurs for so long, and I know that a lot of fans, and obviously just been, on social media, and I know a lot of fans are always very negative about the way we are in the transfer window, and rightfully so at times. But I've been pleased with how we've done under Ange so far. And as I said, I'll say again, I'm confident it's going to be a good summer for us. Yeah,
I mean, the weird thing about that January and all those journalists is we had the signings done, and we were almost able to go back and say to these guys, look, it's going to be a very quiet show, but we love having you on when we're in a position when we're not moaning. I think Darren Lewis, bless him, didn't even know a time like it. Darren came on here and he said, why are people not shouting and screaming? I went, we've done 2 signings early, Darren. That's why, bless him. Bless Darren Lewis. We're looking forward to having him back in the summer. Actually, interestingly, on the attack, Macca, coming over to you, Ange was asked a question. You said that the attack is the area that needs the most growth. Is it fair to say that's an area you're going to look for further additions in? And he said, look, yeah, absolutely. It's no secret. You saw the way we finished the season. We obviously lost Richie and Timo as well as injuries, but we're fairly light in that area. We started last season with Manor, Solomon and Ivan Perisic, who were quite healthy in that front third in terms of numbers. But as the year went on, it became pretty evident that we need to bulk up. We're in Europe as well next year, so we'll have more games. It's definitely an area of the park we'll need to strengthen. And further, just on Timo Werner, when he was asked about whether a decision will be taken on him, he said, look, from our perspective, there's a deadline there. Again, a lot of that will depend on the negotiation between the club and how Timo feels. From my perspective, I'm comfortable with that situation. I'll let the guys steer to see what kind of outcome there is. So Ange firmly really leaving that door open at the moment. I mean, you've said it, Macca, as well. We'll maybe come on in a second in terms of what guys you'd like to see come in. But very, very much clear method there from Ange that the attacking front third is where Spurs need to strengthen. I think, as Pat said earlier, it's a story of our season where had our front third clicked for most of it, we'd be scoring more than we've scored this season, which again will be a massive feat.
Yeah, I mean, we scored more than we did last season without Harry Kane this season.
Exactly.
And yet we still made 2 improvements. And as you said earlier, James, you talk about Brennan Johnson, 5 goals and 10 assists. I mean, I don't actually know for a 22-year-old coming into I don't know what anyone else is really expecting. He's hit the post and bar a couple of times, and he could have scored a couple more. But really, that's not a bad return, is it? 15 goal involvements. And actually, you when you read that out, what Ange said there, Rick, and you talk about, Perisic and Solomon, I totally forgot almost. I forgot they were actually, do you see what I'm saying though, Pat? I actually forgot that they were 2 players playing for us at the beginning of the season. So we're definitely light. to be fair to Ange, if there's anything that's been consistent, and there's been a lot of inconsistencies, certainly from a playing perspective, but if there's anything been really consistent, Ange has been so consistent all season by saying, I need more firepower. I need my front third has not clicked. He's said it all season, and there was an interview quite early on, even when we were winning one games, and we was unbeaten in the first 10, where he said, "My forward line needs to improve the defensive aspect." And I thought that was quite interesting because he puts it down to defending high pressing and pushing that in there. You look at the two Sheffield United goals that two of the goals we scored against Sheffield United at the weekend. Van der Ven presses really high in their final third on the left, keeps the ball in, and it leads to Kulusevski's goal. Do you remember that the goal that I think that we scored? It was one of them against Burnley. I think it was Maddison's goal. It was our third goal against Burnley. Destiny Doggy did the exact same thing in that position and won the ball really high. So when we're winning the ball high, and we did it quite a lot today as well, winning the ball back high, that's that defensive part that he's talking about, I think. So there's a lot of work to do at the front end, but that's where we should be excited, in my opinion, because it's not going to get worse. It's only going to get better to where we were before. Because I agree with Jamie. I don't think there was one really bad signing in the summer. I think Radu's been brilliant as well in the January window. When you think about the players that we brought in Maddison, Destiny really for his first time, Vicario. Yeah, they've got frustrations in there, but of course they are. Now, I remember when Emerson Royale, and I'm not defending him now, but when Emerson Royale first come in, he was getting battered after like 10 games. And the bloke had COVID, he'd been robbed, his dog had been nicked. He's only just come out. He was signed as a right back, and then he was trying to play a right wing back. It was absolute carnage. Yeah. Honestly, I'll challenge anyone watching or listening this in their own field to go into a scenario, first time of asking, and just do it. I mean, you look at Van der Ven. Sometimes there is exceptions to the rule. I mean, he's been absolutely outstanding. Is there anyone that thinks he hasn't been good?
Can I say to you, I know for some that are watching, might have watched the Europa game that's just taken place, and Edmund Tapsoba out there. I think many are absolutely relieved that we did go for Mickey Van der Ven. He was the backup option to Tapsoba because he's been flawless, and I think Tapsoba, there's been concerns about him this season, which is, again...
Sometimes it's how it works out, isn't it, Rick? It's sometimes, like you said about sliding doors moments with the Chelsea game, like it's really difficult to analyse absolutely everything. I love stats. I'm a stat guy. I'm a data guy. But sometimes it's really difficult. You've got to find the right balance. And I think, there's definitely some improvements. I think the thing that gets my goat, the biggest thing that gets my goat, is that we sold the best striker in the world. And that's it. You don't need to say anything else. Like, he's one of our own, homegrown, one of our own, the best in the world, and we sold him. And what's so frustrating about that is that if I'm not saying it has to be Kane, but when you look at the options out there, which we're going to go through together as a team, when you look at the options that are out there as a number 9, he scored 36 goals across the top 5 European leagues. He's the best goal return striker in the world, and we sold him. Couldn't make it up, could you?
Yeah, he's mad. It is. I mean, look, just a final one before I get your guys' thoughts on what the summer is to come. Andrew was asked the question, is he anticipating that he'll keep everyone he wants to keep this summer? And he said, look, yeah, there's no indication otherwise, but all the things are moving parts. You always understand that things can change really quickly, but we've got a plan in place that I'm really comfortable with in terms of incomings and outgoings. Whether that all comes together, you just never know. But having clarity about what we need to do, I think that helps the process. Pat, look, everything seems to indicate that the plan is there for the summer. The indications are that we've got a manager on board with the plan. Will we stick to it, Pat? Will Ange get what he needs, and will we be happy come the end of the summer for you going into next season? What's your feelings?
I honestly don't know. I can't call it because we've been here before where, the talk has been positive and we're all hoping and praying and, anticipating a good summer. The difference is, I know, I agree with Jamie. I think personally all the signings that came in last year were really good in both windows. The Timo Werner one, that's a big debate. And I know we won't get into that now, whether we keep him, what your thoughts are. I thought when he first came in against Man United in the early games, he did contribute and did well. obviously it dropped off and we kind of saw the old Timo. So, you know, I'll leave that there with that one. But all in all, the players that came in terms of the way Ange wanted to play, they helped massively, and it was a lot of moving new components in the new team. And I thought as a whole, they done fantastic. And Lee made such a good point about Emerson Royale the first time he came in and how he was getting battered. Pedro Porro, when he first came in, we had pundits saying that he was wooden, couldn't play, will never make it in this league. And now he's comfortably... Yeah, I didn't want to say his name, but
I'll say his name. I can't stand the bloke.
So, and look how good Pedro Porro is now. Comfortably one of the best right backs in the league. Fantastic at going forward, and has got much better defending. He's a quality player. So it's funny how people get written off straight away. Kulusevski as well. I know Kulusevski hasn't had the best of seasons, but still a decent return considering. And he got written off within the first 10 minutes. So sometimes we do need to chill out a bit and give these guys the leeway and grace that they deserve. And going back to your question, I mean, I hope so. I really hope so. I've been jaded, I've been stung, I've been burnt. We've been here before and we've not got the players that we knew we needed. Like Jamie said as well, we've had January windows where we've hoped and prayed for signings and we've come out even weaker because we let guys go and not even filled in that gap. But you feel with Ange, maybe there is something different this time. The talk is that we need to get guys in early. We did that last year. Hopefully they do address the issues. And if we do that, then we definitely will be stronger. The problem is we do have European football next season. And, you know, I've been on here saying that I'd rather the Europa League because I feel we have a better shot at winning it. But that's only if we're going to get back. There's no point us all saying that and talking that talk if we don't get players in. We still need to strengthen considerably to win the Europa League. We won't win the Europa League with this squad right as it is right now. We still need better because we're going to be playing 2 games a week and we're going to be doing the Thursday, Sunday cycle, which can be quite draining if you see all your rivals, you know, and people that are there or thereabouts in the league picking up points on the Saturday before you. So you're going to need a tough mentality to go out and win your game, knowing what the other guys have done. But yeah, as Christina Zandes, shout out to Zandes, she said Radu Dragusin, we were screaming for that guy to play from such a long time ago. You know, when we were having left back issues, I kept saying put Mickey at left back and Radu as centre back, and it's looked solid and we've been solid. And I agree with Jamie, and I said it as well on many podcasts. It's the irony is against Man City, we actually look really good defensively going forward. It will get lost in all of the whatever you want to call it because it was such a crazy moment. But we looked really good in that Man City game, and that was because of Dragusin coming in. He's solid. He's a good player. He's physical. He's strong. He's comfortable on the ball. I think he's a very, very good player.
He's a beast.
Yeah,
mate.
he's a beast.
He's a quality player.
He's a monster, man. And if you look at him, he's assured on the ball. His passing, his weight of pass is good. He's comfortable in the air. He doesn't take any shit. You saw him pushing players that way of Vicario. He stands up for the team. He's a good player, and he's got the intelligence. And the fact that he hasn't played a lot of football, but still looks that comfortable and assured, it's a good sign. So yeah, but we definitely need players.
I know there's CBs, right? I know there's centre backs like Radu and Romero and obviously Van der Ven. But I did say this a few kind of quietly, if I'm honest, and then it got a little bit of noise on social media as well. But is there an argument to maybe try Romero as a 6? When you look at somebody who's combative, who's somebody who's aggressive, front foot, win the ball back high up the pitch, to have Radu and Van der Ven behind. Now, I know there's a great partnership there, and I know he's a centre-back, so I'm just, maybe, look, it's square pegs, round holes again. Maybe we just need to go and sign another massive number 6, right, like a Polino or, you know, Yusuf Fofana or Onana or whatever, and we'll come on to that. But I did pose a question a few weeks ago. Have we already got in front of our noses a well-beaten number 6? That is actually already at the club.
It's interesting because Romero does love to venture forward. I mean, that's the one thing that you would say. He's very comfortable with the ball, would love to do that. I don't know whether, Jay, you just feel that ultimately Argentina, he's seen as a renowned, obviously compromising centre-back that Messi absolutely adores. I think Messi said in his eyes he's arguably one of the best centre-backs in the world. I just wonder, why has it not happened already? given the fact, listen, Macca's right, he's very comfortable. Why has it not happened today if it could have happened, Jamie?
I think it's an interesting shout. I mean, obviously, we've seen someone like John Stones make that similar move. Obviously, he hasn't done that role so much this season, but obviously, we saw it in the Champions League final where I'm just not quite sure whether he's technically good. I mean, look, obviously, on the ball, he is very good, but I just wonder, having to be an out-and-out midfielder, I'm not sure. I have liked the way we've set up it. Well, I wasn't someone that was kind of too sure about Van der Ven playing as a left back, but it just seems to work. The balance looks really good. You've got someone who is good on the ball and who can play as that inverted fullback, but also allows us to kind of slot back into that back three when we're going forward. And and then you've got a back three of Dragazin, Van der Ven, and Romero. It's very solid, and probably no coincidence that we have looked a lot more sure. Against Manchester City, we defended really well, frustratingly, in that first half. Obviously, Sheffield United completely sure as well in that game again. I have to keep caveating it. Yes, it was only Sheffield United. So I'm intrigued to kind of see how we do, if we do look to set it up again with obviously we've seen that one of the best teams in the world, Manchester City, play a similar system where they've got a central defender playing as a left back. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. And I just wonder whether someone like Udogie might play as maybe as a winger next season. Obviously, I think there's a lot of comparison.
It's interesting that point.
To Gareth Bale, when he gets forwards, and I wonder whether Udogie can make that similar move up, because I think that he is someone who we've seen who's very good in attacking areas. So
totally agree.
Maybe he's someone we might see forward. And as I said, I like that system, but it's very difficult to drop Udogie, because for me, probably was our best player over the course of the season. Maybe you could argue Romero was, and a lot of people were very big on him being our player of the season, but Udogie is just too good to not have in the team. So it'll be interesting to see how we do set up, because as I said, I really like that the way we set up with the Dragazin, Van der Ven left back, but you've got to find a way to get Udogie back into the team. So it's going to be very interesting to see how we set up. As I said, with the Romero, he is, for me, he's one of the best centre backs in the world, and I wouldn't just for that reason.
I wouldn't fix it type thing. It's just an idea. It's because you're looking at these number sixes. I mean, there's names flying about. Sorry, but there's names flying about. I looked earlier when I was watching the game. I looked earlier at the top 25, top 30 number sixes across Europe, and I just did a kind of Google search thing, done some stats on it, and the ones that really came up. And this is quite interesting.
Just as Lee there's going to give us a list.
Palhinha, but Anana and Yusuf Fofana, they were below Bentancur and Basuma. So Bentancur and Basuma were rated higher than these, and Anana's going for 50 million euros. Do you know what I mean? So you can't, and you only go and buy stats and what's out there on the internet. It's no other data. But then you start thinking, well, hang on a minute. Like, well, if we go and bought Anana from Everton, is he better than what we've already got? But 28 years old.
The one thing I worry about with investing in, or heavily investing in, a new holding midfield is tricky, because for me, I think that is one of our most important positions to upgrade. I said the midfield is probably why we did ship so many goals, because we couldn't, control that midfield. We weren't able to kind of push up the pitch and defend from the front as we want to do.
Yep.
So as I said, midfield is an area, but we've got Tyrese Hall, who look, obviously we haven't seen a lot of him. Obviously, John Wenham will know a lot more. Lily White Rose will know a lot more about him and whether he is ready. But you obviously, when you do sign a player, you are then unfortunately blocking the path to a youth player. So it'll be interesting whether we can find maybe something in our squad that can do for now in terms of a number 6 and maybe look to bring Tyrese Hall in. But as I said, it's tricky, because I think that's an area where we do need to really strengthen in the summer.
I think this panel, we've got to do a squad audit, I think, very, very soon. I think this will be a really good panel to do a squad audit on in the next couple of weeks or two before we hit the Euros. I want to ask you boys all one final question. I want to ask you what you feel we do need this summer to be in a position next season in relation to where we can be. I mean, look, we're on the back of a midweek here, which you've seen a managerial merry-go-round, to put it politely. Maurizio Pochettino leaving Chelsea. Roberto De Zerbi, of course, as we knew anyway, obviously leaving Brighton. The Manchester United job, there's higher rife talk that Ten Hag won't be there. Arne Slott's going to Liverpool. It does feel like for Spurs, if they can get their recruitment right this summer, I've said this so many times, there's a massive opportunity next season to be anywhere really inside that top 3, top 4. or dare I say even higher, if they can get the recruitment right under that second season under Ange, where again, you speak to a lot of people that follow Ange's career, whether that's in Japan, whether that's in Scotland, whether that's in, of course, obviously Yokohama. The fact of the matter is that the guy's second season, you really see things come together. So, I mean, Pat, I'll come to you to start this off. What do you think we need to be in a position next season where we can really have a good hit at the league? I mean, given the fact as well, look, we can't get away from it. You said it earlier, Patty. Sunday, Thursday is not going to be easy, but you're pointing there to your own blue book. What's the blue book saying, Patty? Hit us.
Yeah, I've done my research on this, and I wanted to. I mean, I didn't go crazy. The names kind of, I feel the names kind of pick themselves in the sense of I wanted players that I feel are attainable, gettable, and essentially walk into our starting 11. So that's not to dismiss any of our starting 11, but it makes the squad ultimately a lot stronger to begin with. And for me, I feel the positions we need to strengthen in, and I'm going to name the names shortly. We need a winger, we need a striker, without a shadow of a doubt. We need a DM/6, as all you boys have wonderfully pointed to already, and we need another attacking midfielder. So for the winger position, I've picked either Nico Williams or Rafinha. 1v1 demons that are skillful, can go both ways, and can finish much better than the guys we've already got in our team. As a striker, it's either Ivan Toney, and I know he's going to divide opinion because some people don't like his attitude and the way he carries himself, but I think he's a fantastic player. He's at a good age. He instantly improves our team, and the guy is a very good player in terms of hold up, link up play, can score free kicks, technically ability, and yeah, he would definitely improve us. Or Victor Gyökeres, I hope I pronounced that right. Fantastic player. He's doing bits. Funny, he used to be at Coventry, but since then his rise has been fantastic. And just go and watch him, how good he is. As a DM or 6, it has to be either Paulinho or Ugarte. 2 fantastic number 6 that will give us strength, steel, good on the ball. They don't have to be fantastic on the ball, but they just need to. I mean, our defense, because we push so far forward, we're usually exposing the 2 centre backs. I feel Mickey van der Ven and Romero are 2 of the best centre backs in world football. They're that good, but we concede so many goals because they're left very vulnerable a lot of the times. With a 6 that will sit back and just protect them, we look so much better. And then last but not least, it has to be Eze. Eze, linked with Spurs for a long time. I think he's gettable. He is a guy that, I've named 2 players in each position, but he's the one guy that we need to bring in as per, each position. So, yeah, I feel if we go get those guys, and they're all gettable, if we put the money up, talk to them, show them that, these guys will instantly improve us and what we can do if they are added to the team, I think we can have a fantastic summer and then obviously a fantastic season. So those are the guys I feel we have to get.
Do you think Ogar is... I left him off my list because I'm not sure he's gettable. I don't think he comes to Spurs. I mean, I don't mean negative. I'm not sure he comes to Spurs.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously he made the move to PSG. I think it was last summer.
I don't think he's that happy there, and I don't know if he's like, I don't know.
He's not played a lot.
Yeah, he's not played a lot of football there, so I think he's gettable.
Maybe. Yeah.
I want to go back to this and ask you boys very quickly, Pat. If we do get those players, I feel bad asking you this now. What is? I think you said a good season. I think you said a good season. Well, what is a good season in your mind, given the fact that with this managerial merry-go-round we're having at the moment, what does that look like in your eyes at the moment? It'll be more concrete in the summer once we've concluded this and we know what we've got. But where are we in terms of what you think is a good season for next season?
Obviously this, just like we finished 5th, 2 points off 4th. I know Aston Villa literally had their flip-flops and beat shots on for the last game, and they didn't turn up because they had already qualified. But ultimately, we finished 2 points off the top 4. If we get the guys that I've listed or guys of that quality, I feel we can finish anywhere between 2nd and 4th, realistically. Because I feel, obviously, Man City are so good. After that, for me, Arsenal being as good as they were and still not reaching the promised land, I don't know if they can maintain that, if they're going to have a drop, if they just feel it's impossible. Maybe they'll drop off a bit next year. Maybe they'll look at trying to take the Champions League or one of the domestic cups seriously, so they at least try and win something. Liverpool, who knows what they're going to be like under a new manager? That's another question. And then obviously you've got Aston Villa, who will be in the Champions League. That'll be very testing. And I feel we're there or thereabouts with Villa. So it'll be interesting to see how they fare with Champions League football. And then obviously we finished 5th. So I feel with quality players coming in. Second to fourth is up for grabs right now. I do feel that there's a lot of change right now in the moment.
Patty, thank you so much, mate. Really appreciate it as always. We'll go to Jamie, then we'll go to Macca. Jay, look, I know you.
I've too much about transfers.
We're building suspense here. Have they got the same list? Have they got the same list? Have they got the same books? Jay's always got something. I think Jay always knows what he wants going into a window. He's done his research as well. Jay, what are you saying? What do we need?
Yeah, look, I think one thing that obviously, Patrick obviously made that list, and I think it is very similar as well. For me, I think we need that presence up top. I think we've tried to do that with, obviously playing Kulusevski as a false nine, and that seemed to work really well. Obviously, a good performance against Sheffield United on the final day. Obviously, he played in a similar role today as well. So I think they want that kind of that guy who is more a physical forward. Someone who can kind of offer a presence up top and obviously put these chances away. I think that's something that we have missed. Obviously, Sonny at times looked really good in that centre forward role, but ultimately probably looks like he is going to be a left winger long term. Obviously, there has been a lot of debate about whether that's his best position. So a proper number 9 is something that I'd like to see. Patrick mentioned probably my first choice as well, Victor Gyökeres, Sporting. Scored 40 plus goals this season for Lisbon, so he looks like top player. Joshua Zirkzee is another one. He's a young player who's at Bologna this season. His goal record's not phenomenal, but he's a guy who can kind of play along that front line, who can play as an out-and-out striker as well. He's young as well. He's got a fairly low release clause. So Joshua Zirkzee at Bologna, obviously a team that surprised a lot and finished in the Champions League this season in Serie A. So he's one to keep an eye on as well. Archie Gray is as a holding midfielder, obviously a guy who's done very well for Leeds this season. Holding midfielder, he's also someone that can play as a fullback as well. And I think that's something that I would like to see us go for in terms of someone who can offer a bit of versatility. I think, there are areas in this squad where, we have got starters, but maybe having someone who can offer us a different role. And Archie Gray is definitely someone he's been brilliant at Leeds this season. Obviously, they look like they're probably going to come up this season. Obviously, they're playing Southampton in the playoffs, so he's another one I'd like to keep an eye. He's only 18 as well. He's young, but it'll be interesting. So yeah, as I said, a winger, some sort of winger. Obviously, I know that Eze and Elisa are two names that have been mentioned. Either one of them, I think, would be phenomenal. A holding midfielder, and then, as I said, just someone that maybe can offer a bit of versatility in the defence. Cover. The fullback areas as well. So, yeah.
Jay, thank you so much. I think, listen, we've got to get this debate on again, do a bit of a squad audit. I think that would be great. It's a great panel for it, for certainly. Macca, will close on what we need with you. What do we need, Macca? What do you want to see?
We need a miracle, son.
Well, we've been saying that for 20 years.
No, we don't. Look, I was doing this. It was my kind of fault to go into this as well. I couldn't not do it. Patrick and Jamie and you on here. This is just for Jason McGovern talking about transfers. Look, I mean, Eze is an absolute no-brainer. Like, I think we need to go and sign him. There's a couple of he's been at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium a couple of times. He's with Base. Is it Base? He's with Base as well, which is one of the key agencies that Spurs have got a key thing with. And I'll put him down as a winger stroke number 10-8. I think what's really interesting about the number 6. I mean, I've put backup centre backs in here as well. I'm quite keen on that Calafiori, 25 million euros. Plays left back and can play left-sided centre back as well. But the reality of the situation is that is he going to come because he's going to be playing backup? Who knows? But we need that bigger squad, as Patrick said. So I think we need a winger. We need a number 9, a 10-8. We need a 6, and we need a centre back backup. So I think the backup centre back's okay because I think you could potentially promote Phillips, or you could go and get Lloyd Kelly on a free. I think Tosin's already said no to us, so we've been linked with him. But getting a freebie or somebody as a backup, it is a backup piece. The most important, as a definite number 9. The thing is, I wrote these down. Some of the boys have said some brilliant names. Mamouche, Mido is absolutely crazy about him. Has totally told us to go and sign the bloke, and he's banging him in for fun. Quite like Hwang, although he hasn't done well. No, exactly. I quite like Hwang as well, he's done well for Wolves, but that hold up man piece, 25 million euros. So it's a bit of a kind of a different option. But I'm with the boys. Like Tony, is it an attitude thing? I don't quite know. I mean, only time will tell. I think that, you know, if Ange signed him, he wouldn't sign him based on a bad attitude. I think that's factual. So, you know, if you sign him, you've got to trust that. And I think he's proven Premier League. He's brilliant. He'll score you 20 goals a season for sure. But it's also keeping Richie, because can you keep Richie and have somebody else in as well? Because, you know, let's be fair, Richie's had a start-stop season. In and out, shake it all about. He's had his issues as well, and I think we'll respect him as a human, but maybe as a player. He's got 11 goals and 4 assists. That's 15 goal contributions. Not good enough for our star number 9 when you're comparing him to Harry Kane numbers. But can we get him up to 20? Can we get him up to 20? I don't know. That's a question. You know, the fact of the matter is we're going to have to go and spend like 50 million euros on a Jonathan David who scored 19 goals in Ligue 1. Can he do it? Can he step it up? We don't know. You know, Evan Ferguson, for, you know, young English striker, 60 million euros from Brighton. Can he do it?
Yeah. The thing with Richarlison, just on Richarlison quickly. Sorry, Lee. I just wanted to. Quality-wise, I think there's no question. I think that he showed in that run of games where I think he got 9 goals in 10 appearances or whatever it is. Yeah, that's right. He's got the quality, and I know a lot of people will probably be shouting at me, no, he hasn't. But I think what held him back this season, he's just had no luck with injuries this year. And I think Megan said it in the comments. He's not been able to stay fit, and maybe that is a big issue. But that's something that's held him back this season, and where he has been unlucky. So I think with Richarlison, he can get more goals, and I think, Lee, you are right. He definitely can get them up, but it's whether he can stay fit. So sorry for jumping.
It's hard as well, isn't it? Because he's coming into his 3rd season. Let's be honest, his 1st season was shocking. His 2nd season hasn't been that great. It's been much better. And was it a purple patch, or can we get more goals out of him? I think the backup centre back for me, the left winger, or I've put that, like Rafinha. You talked about Pat. I really like Rafinha. Pedro Neto's been talked about, but he's so injury prone. You don't know what you're going to get out of him. So I think it's a massive risk. Grealish, I know one of our own, Christina, would absolutely love Grealish to come in, just for his calves. To be honest, I wouldn't mind him either. And that, but he's 65 million euros. Williams is a great shout, but apparently he wants 350 grand a week. There was another guy that I looked at. I think he's ex-Arsenal, isn't he? Gnabry. And he's 45 million euros. And
quality player, but you're right, he's ex-Arsenal. Quality player, though.
Yeah, so that might salt into the room, Patrick. Do you know what I mean? A little bit. So only 45 million. I think the key one for me. Sorry, Rick. I think the key one for me. You look at all these other names like Watkins, Vlahovic, Boniface, Isaac. They ain't coming Spurs. None of them. It's pointless. Don't even get your hopes up about that. That's not even anything to do with ambition. That's just the reality. That Isaac he ain't going nowhere. If he does go somewhere, he's going to go to a Champions League club. Let's be fair about it. And Watkins just got in the Champions League. I love Watkins. I absolutely love Watkins at Spurs. I think he's perfect. But he's just got in the Champions League as well. So I think there's a couple of options there. I think the key one for me is that the backup centre back is important, but I think the number 6. And look, we haven't even talked about. I can't believe we've done a whole show and we've done a bit of transfers. We haven't even talked about this guy, and I'm not sure he's a number 6. Maybe we can convert him. I don't know. But Conor Gallagher, of Poch leaving Chelsea, I think it's a pretty much stonewall fact that Conor Gallagher leaves Chelsea in the summer.
I think that's why he's leaving there, because he's not got those assurances that those players he wants to Trevor Chalobah's, and of course Conor Gallagher, they're going to stay there. I think it'll be interesting whether Conor. They're also about Conor is that whether with those ties to Chelsea, whether he would look to deviate elsewhere. I mean, I think going to Tottenham would be hard for that fan base to stomach. I mean, look, it'd be great for us because to have that direct rivalry there, which Chelsea have, and we don't really have that because it's Arsenal, our main rivals. But to take Conor Gallagher would be, great. And I think that again with Conor Gallagher, I know he divides opinion, but he does work ever so hard in the midfield. He's like an engine man. And to be fair, look,
that's what I'm wondering if he can sit at that base to interact with you there. But that's what I'm wondering. I know he's more traditional on break, but we definitely need more legs in that midfield. Like
100%.
We keep saying, Sar's great, he's got a lot of energy, but there's only one Sar, and he ain't going to play all them games like Patrick said. The other thing is that we talk about all these summer targets and bringing these players in and all that sort of stuff is the metrics of homegrown. That's a whole new debate. But we've also just talked about how good our academy players are and, potentially can we get some of them up, and how disappointed will some fans be if we don't see them. but how disappointed will some fans be if we do see them? Because you can't have it both ways. You can't say, right, I'm playing Europa League Thursday night football and I'm going to put in a Santiago and a Donnelly and a Tyrese Hall, and then we lose 2-0 and then everyone goes, oh, we're not taking it seriously. But then you have
to get chances.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And then you can't say, right, well, let's go and sign all these players, and then we don't give the youth a chance. Like, there has to be a balance. So I think there's probably, for me, there's five positions in the first team. 4 positions in the first team plus a backup centre back that are absolutely crucial. And if we don't sort all them positions out in the summer, I'll be disappointed.
I think, again, look, the window is going to prove to be interesting. And it's one of those which will rumble on with a debate. I think we've got to get this panel together once again, if we can, for a squad audit before we do hit the Euros, because it's going to be a busy window for Spurs. It most certainly is. And to give you confidence here, Woodhouse, probably consultants, we're not going anywhere over the summer. We've got lots to come, so stick by us. Lots of content coming your way.
We've got some surprises up our sleeves.
I love that. I do. Look, it feels right to start from where we finished. It's on Ange Postecoglou with relation to, obviously, this trip to Australia. If I could just bring in one of the most, I think he's been a viewer, listener that's been with us for many, many years, Dietmar, if I can say. Dietmar personally DM'd me today. He was at the game from earlier, and he just wanted to share his experience that, look, for him, just the lazy 78,000 in relation to the MCG in Melbourne. It was fantastic to see the lads here in person, albeit at the end of the season. Our support is truly global. A great job by you and the panel members of all this season. Enjoyable when we win, or even when we lose. You guys have been the great therapy. Thank you so much, Dietmar. Very, very kind words there. And I know, again, we've got a huge support from this show in Australia. Download this show on a weekly basis. So we can't thank you enough for all your incredible support for the show. Just to finish it on Ange's comments, Ange said, look, how fitting was it to end this wonderful 12 months in his home city? He said, look, I guess the last few years I've kind of moved along with some pretty rapid pace, but it was nice to be back because it wasn't long ago I said in alternative universe, I would have been on the other side of the fence watching the games because that was my kind of existence for a very long time. To be in charge of one that I've got goosebumps saying this, to be in charge of one of the biggest football clubs in the world, bring them back to my hometown in front of 80,000 is pretty special. And I feel blessed to be in that position. He was then asked about when you see 80,000 watching these two clubs, did you get some time to reflect on your part in growing the game? He said, look, I think the majority were here for the clubs, not me, and being humble. Although the amount of friends I seem to have got in the last couple of days, maybe there's a few more thousand I thought there was. It's great. I've always said the last couple of years, I was in Perth with Spurs last year. I was in Celtic the year before. I've got a great reception. It's not lost on me, and I understand I represent the country and the club in many respects with what I do abroad and the people that are following me. He said, look, I don't dwell on it too much. Obviously, I'm on the other side of the world, but I'm well aware of the impact it has because I keep saying that my experience when other people were in my position, players or other people involved in football or sports, I lived that journey from here. I understand that people are doing the same thing with my journey. And you know what? Just to finish on this, Ange is almost like, so I know a lot of the Aussies that watch and listen to this show, he's like that American dream, right? He's a guy that, to be fair, throughout his career was doubted, was almost never expected to ever reach the summit of the Premier League. Not only has he done that, like in his first season with Spurs, he has reached, obviously, a 5th position. I'm not going to deny the fact I have my concerns, my reservations, but I think, look, we all have come to that point where you can't keep chopping and changing managers. You've got to give someone a chance. You've got to stick to the script. Jamie's nodding his head there in approval. It's a big summer, big summer, right, Jay? And we've got to get behind the manager.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is one reason I remember making the point when he first arrived about.
I've got a cheeky saying that.
But the one of the
management,
yeah. always, come on.
One of the points that I made last summer, and that why I was excited for Ange and why I thought he was the right man is, look, the last couple of managers we've had, they've always kind of spoken down on Spurs, and it's always felt like they were there because maybe they were offered a big contract and it was a big payday for them. With Ange, he's had to work over the course of a career of 25 years, working his way from obviously Australia to Japan, obviously to Celtic, and obviously had a couple of other jobs in between that as well. But he's had to work really hard to get here, and the first Australian manager. So he's someone who has had so many kind of obstacles to overcome to get to this point. So it was always going to be a case where he was going to be proud to be the Spurs manager, and that was something that was really important. We needed a guy who actually wanted to be here, and obviously we're seeing that now. He's a guy who knows that he's very fortunate to be in the position that he's in. he's desperate to kind of succeed at Spurs, and that was always going to be a factor. And obviously, people can have their question marks over whether he is good enough. I think that obviously there's been some great moments this season, but there has been some disappointing moments. But as I said, I do believe we'll keep getting better under him. And as I said, that journey he's made over that his long career. I know a lot of people are kind of questioning that CV, but I think that's what made him such a good fit for us, because we needed a guy who was going to appreciate the fact that he was at a club like Tottenham, unlike Conte, unlike Mourinho. And I think that's why we have seen him have success. So obviously his journey's been fantastic, and great to see him having a good first season, and hopefully the second one's even better.
Jay, a ringing endorsement. I think, look, it's right to leave it there on such a positive. Jay, I want to say a massive thank you, mate. Love to have you back on. Really appreciate it. You'll be back hopefully soon across the summer, Jay. Fingers crossed.
100%. Well, I mean, hopefully it's going to be a busy summer. Hopefully, obviously, we do get business done early, and maybe we do have a quiet into the transfer window. But look, again, Spurs, it's probably not going to happen. But obviously looking forward to it, and looking forward to next season. But look, 100% happy to have a rest and bring on obviously the Euros as well. That'd be good.
Yeah, amen. Totally agree. Jay, thank you so much. Patty, my man, thank you so much. Another season in the bag. Hopefully lots to come in the summer. Hopefully there'll be a lot of times I'm driving you mad, Pat, that ad hoc switch on. Come on, because we've just signed another player. What do you reckon, Patty?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if that's happening, that's good news, right? As long as it's not Timo Werner. Or what did I say that out loud? I'm sorry. I'm playing. If
no, he's not.
Yeah,
I'm not either.
If we got all them players in first, and then
I didn't want to be negative and slate anyone, but no Timo, no.
We done so well. We did an hour and 31. We did so well.
We need better than Timo Werner. Bless his heart. I like him. I think he's a good guy, but we need more than just good guys. We need players that are going to come in and be quality. And, we got Brennan Johnson, who's a young prospect, and he's missing chance after chance. But he's young. I can get behind that because there is output. Only a second season in the Premier League, like Jamie said, and there's someone to grow into. Timo Werner, we know that's the finished article. We can't have two guys on the wing bumbling and fluffing chances. It's just not going to work. So other than that, let's hope that we are jumping on here ad hoc, that we're coming to you guys with not emergency pods, but pods to talk about a new signing. And I'm here with my stat book telling you how good the guy was and what he brings to the table and this and that. But it should be exciting times ahead. And just saying all the right things. It looks like the club hopefully will back him. They brought him in. We need someone that's going to be here, stability. And if they can sell that to the players that are coming in and show them the progression, and hopefully next year we're definitely aiming for Champions League football and a really good run out in the cup with the aim to win it. I don't see why we can't get some good players, not elite world-class players, but the next level below to really push the team on.
I should have said this. Make sure you do go check Jamie out, of course, over at Daily Hotspur. All the latest news and Spurs collated into one place. He is the man to go to follow. Transfer season's coming. Get that notification bell on. Jamie's the man you need. Patty, also go and check him out. Chatty Patty. He's still going ad hoc on when he can and jumping in, Patty, right?
Yeah, 100%. Follow me on subscribe to me on YouTube. Patrick Tyrant, Chatty Patty. Obviously, I'm on Twitter at Patrick Tyrant, as it sounds and as you can see on the screen. And man, all good. Thank you, Ricky. Love to Lee and love to Jamie as well. All good guys, all doing their thing. And obviously, they're the reasons why Last Word on Spurs is the best Spurs podcast out there.
Oh, bless you, my man. Get us blushing. Macca, let's come around to you. Can I say we've got to wish Macca massive luck as well. He's in a final, Macca, for a couple of awards. Can we just make that clear? Macca's in a final.
Let's go.
Can he do it back to back? He's got two on the go. He's got double. God, double. We all wish him all the very luck in the world.
Well, I mean, it's absolutely amazing, Rick, and I love seeing your lovely face. But I'm going to see it in about 9 hours or something, can I?
I know you are, my man. I know.
It's
a blessing or a hindrance.
We've got going on for our viewers and listeners. I've got loads going on, actually. We never kind of talk about it. I don't normally promote anything. Check me out, Phoenix 51. You can go on my X, whatever. I'm doing a lot of stuff now, coaching myself, other entrepreneurs and business owners, giving back some of my knowledge that I know how to do certain things. So, you can go and check out all my socials and that. My Instagram stories are pretty good. I've got loads of stuff going on there. So, happy days. And I love getting down into the data. I love getting down into the real thick of it now with transfers. I know this one's going out. Big shout out to Jason McGovern. Loving it over in Thailand. Loving this transfer show, Jason. Can't wait to get you back on. So
We do love you, Jace. Jace will be back on with us very, very soon. He will do indeed. Look, from myself, from Lee, from Patty, from Jamie, guys, we've been the last one on Spurs. A last reminder, if you want to come and join us to have a bit of an evening, a bit of a fancy, a bit of a party away, you can come and join us at the Bricklayers, of course, coming your way Sunday the 2nd of June. Come and join us. Scan the QR code for more, of course. But listen, from all of us here, from myself, from Lee, from Pat, from Jamie, from me, we've been the last one on Spurs. Keep safe, keep well. And as always, come on, you Spurs.